Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Welcome. This is our last Sunday in the season after Epiphany. Throughout this season, we've been looking for those unexpected encounters with the divine. We've been watching for God's light coming into the world in new ways. We've been open to the new things that God is doing in us, through us, and with us. And we arrive on this final Sunday with these mountaintop experiences, reminding us of the ways in which our hearts and our lives are enriched by these encounters. We also hear in our readings that caution of how we respond as adults to these experiences. As children, when we have amazing experiences, we want to go and tell everyone about them. Our faces literally shine. Okay, not literally, but they shine. With that exuberance of the experience that we've had. And people around us can tell that something amazing has happened. As adults, we tend to tamper that down. We tend to temper our experiences of those divine encounters or those moments of epiphany, those moments of insight that fill us with joy. We veil ourselves. Sometimes we veil those experiences from our own selves, sometimes from each other. Sometimes we put that veil on between ourselves and God. And this Sunday we're reminded to take that veil down. We hear in our first reading of Moses coming down from the mountaintop, his face literally shining. And the people's response was one of, well, that's scary. Can you cover that up? And so he did. When he would come out from speaking with God and his face would shine, he would tell the people what he heard, and then he would veil himself. He would reduce that glory so that people around him could be comfortable. We hear in Paul's letter to the church in Corinth that church wasn't doing that, or at least that was what Paul wrote. It's likely that when they went out into the world, they still veiled their faces from the glory that they experienced and felt. It's what we do as adults. It's what the world teaches us. And it's sad. We hear in our gospel this morning of the disciples accompanying Jesus to the mountaintop, of seeing him glow, of seeing Moses and Elijah with him, glowing and speaking. In that profound moment of divine encounter, they want to set up shop on that mountaintop. Peter says, Lord, it's good we are here. We'll set up 3 tents. We'll just stay here with you and Elijah and Moses. It'll be good. And then the cloud comes over them and they're terrified. And they hear God's voice. And they don't come down and tell everyone what they've experienced. They come down and tell no one for a long time. The world teaches us that it's not okay to shine with the experiences that fill us with joy, that fill us with grace, that fill us with divine love and light. The Gospels teach us a different story, that what we are called to and what the disciples will eventually do after the day of Pentecost is go out boldly, proclaiming that love, allowing the world around them to see that glow of God's love that has filled them, to experience that joy that fills them. These moments of divine encounter, these mountaintop experiences, aren't meant to be left on the mountaintop. They're meant to be brought back with us into the valleys in which we live, to bring light and joy and life and love to those around us, to help us continue to encourage one another, to help us continue to experience the light and love of God in new and unexpected ways. Even Jesus struggled with this. We're about to enter into our season of Lent. And after his baptism, when the dove descended on him and the heavens parted and he heard the words, "This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased," he goes off into the desert to think about that for 40 days. It takes time to process. And he comes back, not veiled, but open to God's encounter, open to continuing to do God's work that he's called into the world to do. Producing miracles in Cana at the wedding, producing miracles for his friends as he heals Peter's mother-in-law. We are called into this faith family as children of God to live God's light, to live God's love boldly, no matter who tells us we can't, no matter who tells us, "Oh, that's scary, can you veil that?" We get to just be God's children. We get to tell the world, it may be scary to do things in a new way. It may be scary to love everyone, no matter who they are, no matter who they love, no matter how they identify. But it is what we are called to do. It's who we are. Everyone is loved. Everyone has value. Everyone is a beloved child of God, and each of us matters. Getting to live that truth, getting to love one another, getting to shine with that light and exuberance that allows others to experience it with us, is part of the joys of being called into this family of Christ. I think we get that it's easier to do that on Sundays. Living it in the world can be a different experience. And it may be fitting that we get to enter into this time of Lent together now as we walk the wilderness of transformation, that liminal space where change is all around us, and where we get to think on these new things that we've been called to in this season of Epiphany. Think on these new ways that light has entered into our lives. Think on these new ways that God has been revealed to us and how that gets lived out in our lives. That's what this coming season gets to be for us. It isn't a time of darkness and sackcloth. It's a time for entering into the spaces that we've been called during this season of light and new beginnings, and figuring out together in discernment how we're going to live them in our lives and world. It's a pretty profound calling to live God's light, to live God's love, to live God's truth. And if we allow ourselves the space to live it and to do it, it's a space of incredible joy and fulfillment. And the lives that we change are countless. When I was a kid, we used to go to the Lutheran church. And at that time in the Lutheran church, I don't know if it's changed since then, they only did communion once a month. And I remember coming home one Sunday when they didn't do communion and grabbing some Wonder Bread and a shot glass and some grape juice, cutting out little wafers and calling my mom up to have communion with me. And I did the words as best as I could remember and all the motions that I could remember from church. And we did communion. That experience of fellowship, of being at the table, of taking in those sacraments, was more important to me than could be expressed once a month. And I wasn't afraid to show that. Growing up, we veil that joy, and we don't have to. May we live as children, sharing our joys, our exuberance, our excitement, sharing God's love and light with each other without apology, without hiding it away, without veiling our hearts. This final Sunday in the Epiphany, may we hear that call to unveil our hearts from God, from each other, from ourselves. Live into light and love and truth. Be blessed in it. Revel in it. And share that joy with the world. Amen.